Hello and welcome to episode number 86 of the Town Social. After last season's depressing display, the lads have completed their 6 weeks of therapy and now have been successfully cleared, sane enough to don their Speedos and dive in to another scintillating season of Huddersfield Town splendour. Yes, the boys are back, ready to cut the red ribbon and smash the champagne bottle as HMS Piss for League Mark II is preparing to set sail after the last one unexpectedly hit an iceberg. In the galley kitchen, Chef Kevin is already cooking up a storm, signing 6-foot somethings to bolster Town's backline and give some much-needed bite to the midfield. We have a new captain at the helm in Lee Grant and 3 shiny new assistants in Mark Bridge-Wilkinson, Paul McShane and Jonathan Robinson. The flat caps are being donned, the whippets leashed, and the pints of bitter poured as we strap ourselves in for some proper Northern football. Will it finally be a season of free-flowing, full-throttle fantasy or another season of flat, forgettable fuck-ups? Well, it won't be long now until we find out. I'm your host, Nick Barlow, and signed up with me again for another season are Mr. Ian Kilroy, Gasquet and Andy Kay. Gents, welcome. Thank you very much, everybody, already. I'm seeing there's lots of comments in. It's great to see you all again. Sorry we're a little bit late. If you like this, please subscribe to the channel and like this. It makes a big difference. Get your comments and your questions in. As usual, there's always one that doesn't get the dress code. As Mr. Ian Kilroy, I'm too good to wear Northern football shirt, but we haven't coordinated this, by the way. We're just all sad in equal measure. But
yeah, that's
anyway,
what you say, Nick. That's what you say, but realistically, no one clued me in. And I'm out of contract on 30th of June. I'm only here because I've still got another 8 days left. I don't feel like whatever secret group chat's going on with you boys, I'm not in it anymore. Do you know what? I'll stick just nicely in my social media style entrepreneur black t-shirts all the time. But like as Jack's mentioned, I'm in a light room for once, so things are looking better this year already.
He's come out of his cave, ready for the new season. This is going to be the most probably optimistic and happy episode of the full season if the last few are anything to go by, so do savour it. Right then, lads, so have you all had a good summer, by the way, before we get down to it? What you guys been up to? It's been a while, hasn't it? It's been a good few weeks. Everyone been good? Been up to it interesting or no? Fantastic. Right, none of us have lives out of this.
No, I think it's important to jump in at this point saying I don't understand how people live without football. I don't understand how you can go weekends without going to watch football because I've done more jobs for the wife and for the family since the end of last season than I do over the rest of the year. It's really expensive. I've started repointing my house. Like I was mentioning to you guys before this, I've been silly enough to buy a caravan. So I've been towing a caravan to Scarborough on Friday and back today. There's all sorts of random stuff we've been up to. And I'm just not for it. I'm ready. I'm ready for Emily next week. Although I think it's important that we can point out to everybody else that Sean O'Toole, who was often with us, sent a message to the group chat yesterday asking what score the game was today. And it took us a while to work out. He meant name the game thinking it was before the boys were back into pre-season training on Monday. So I just wanted to just shame OT a little bit there.
In fact, he's been such a good summer. Ian Kilroy has created and established an ice cream empire. He's a new Duncan Valentine.
Yeah, just no money, guys. There's no profit. There's absolutely nothing in it. But yes, as a quick detour here, that's the only reason I'm here as well to advertise my vegan ice cream company, which I must say, guys, as a paid and not advertorial piece, it's not bad, is it?
It's not. No, I have to say it was good. I give you some useful feedback on packaging and labelling, marketing, as you would expect from somebody who has such depth of knowledge in that subject as myself. But yeah, it tasted banging. In fairness,
well, you can get it at Taylor's, GG's of Denberdale, GG's of Home Firth, Cooper's Sweets and Treats in Marsden, and there's some more places. Windmill Cafe up in Penistone, soon to be All Carrot No Stick in Sheffield. There's loads of nice little delis where you can pick it up. But yes, there's some nice ice cream knocking about.
Get on it, guys. Get on it. Right. Enough of that. Let's get down to business. Otherwise, we'll be here for 8 hours because we've got a lot to discuss, haven't we? There's so much has happened. We've got to start with the appointment of the new manager, Lee Grant, haven't we? He's joined us on a 3-year contract, 42 years old. He was assistant to Kieran McKenna at Ipswich, who obviously rose from the dark depths of League One up to the Prem in just 2 seasons. He was a goalkeeper. He made over 500 professional appearances all over the shop before retiring at Man United. He's worked under the likes of Eddie Howe, Jose Mourinho, Sean Dyche, and he was more responsible for coaching the attack of Ipswich and bodes well since he scored 101 goals in League One and then another 92 in the Championship on the way to promotion. Kev said the following: throughout our due diligence, it was clear how impressive Lee's coaching work was, and his reputation couldn't have been higher with everyone who has crossed his path, playing his part in successful teams, both on and off the pitch over the course of his career to date. That's a habit we believe he will be well positioned to continue at Town. So, guys, obviously there was all the hype around, is Wagner coming back? And then we were looking at Sellers and all this and everyone. And then suddenly Lee Grant's announced. And it was, I think fair to say that some fans were a little underwhelmed, shall we say. But, guys, having at time now to sort of digest it, read a bit more about him, what he's all about. He's had his first interview. Gaz, how are you feeling now, mate, after you've had a chance to look at it?
Well, if it was never going to be, if it wasn't Wagner, then I'm glad Kev's gone with somebody who might actually give us something we're not expecting. I would rather that than another rinse and repeat League One lower end Championship Michael Duff type appointment. Well, honestly, I don't really know. I mean, I've heard him talk. It's amazing that he's 42 years old and looks. Are you 42, Kill? I think you're about 42, aren't you?
Are you what? I want an apology. That's 5 years on me, guys.
Is he really? Well, I have to be honest. He still looks 10 years younger than you. So he obviously looked after himself. So, but yeah, I think that he clearly has. They clearly got good feedback from Ipswich. Ipswich have been a bit of a force over the last couple of years. So he's been in and around that camp, hasn't he? They're bringing that positivity and that energy with him, you would think. But there's a big difference between being part of a coaching team, being an assistant manager, and being the man. I think that goes in most walks of life, really. When you're the one that has to make the decisions and the one that has to make the tough calls, whether you get them right or get them wrong, I guess we'll be seen. But I think what we're going to have to do, what Kevin must do now, is give the bloke a chance. If we're 8th at Christmas, we've got to stick with this now. We said that about Michael Duff and look what happened there. So, yeah, good luck to the lad. He spoke really well, came across really well, and fingers crossed he's going to do us a good job, eh?
Let's hope so. Guys, you put your comments in. What do you guys think now you've had time to look at things a bit more? Ian, I guess my concern is in terms of experience. One of the criticisms of Duff and some of the managers we've had before, that in-game changes haven't always been great. There hasn't been a reaction there when the team's been struggling. We've had a chance to change things around a little bit and not necessarily taken them. Do you think that Lee Grant will have it in him to be able to make those changes in game? I've started to see some of the signings, some hope there in terms of versatility, but it's a bit of a gamble, mate, isn't it? Because like Gas says, going from coaching to managing is they're two very, very different things. And when the pressure's on the sidelines, does he have the tools to be able to change things in game and adapt?
Ultimately, we don't know. We don't have a clue, do we? He wasn't the first team coach. He wasn't the head coach at Ipswich. He wasn't even second in command at Ipswich. He was a first team coach, so he was around it. But how much influence he had over it is likely not to be as much as I think may have been portrayed when it comes to Town saying his experience with success because of him being there. I think it's quite a different thing. But his success will come down to that. What makes it even more difficult for him is that obviously director of football isn't a job that isn't in existence at the moment in the club as well. So he doesn't even have that extra protection, that layer of protection there where somebody can help him out. And we'll go on to his backroom staff in a bit, I'm guessing, but he's not got too much experience around him either. So he very much is on his own. And on paper, you look at that, and again, take away what he said in the press conference, because I thought he spoke really, really well in very business cliched, motivational speaking, Stephen Bartlett style that does resonate well with American owners because it's that professional NFL style media trained approach to it, and it works, and it's nice, and it's nice change, to be totally honest. Although I did love how Duff spoke about Town. But when it comes to in-game management in League One, you need it. That's how you win things. That unless you can splash cash like Birmingham did and buy players that are far too good for the division, it comes down to if you've got a Nathan Jones-esque kind of guy on the sidelines who can get the team playing differently against different teams to win that game. There isn't one Town fan that can say whether Grant can do that. None of us can. We can be excited for a little bit of change. We can be excited about front foot football, but it's all lip service up until this point. And again, looking at the transfers we've brought in, I see some real issues that I spoke with Matt about on another podcast last week on the Signed Sealed Delivered episodes, which you can catch elsewhere. But there's already a few little things showing there that don't match up for me. But again, he's an inexperienced manager. It's exciting because he might be absolutely fantastic. We had it with Corbyn. Came from absolutely nowhere. I know it wasn't entirely like that, but we made a playoff final with the squad. I don't think most of us thought it could get there at the beginning of the season, and he got us there. It could be something like that. Who knows? But when you've got a new manager, you've got nothing but faith at this point. It's just he does speak well, and we are doing a few deals to get new players in. So at the moment, it looks okay. But like you say, Nick, it's that in-game management, that sink or swim for League One managers, and nobody knows yet.
He does seem quite assured. You know, I was quite impressed with his interview. We spoke calmly, and he looks like he's got a plan. Looks like he's got a strategy of how to play, and he looks confident in himself and what he can bring to the table. Yeah, Andy, what were you impressed with the interview, or what were your thoughts having listened to him for the first time?
I'd agree with Killer about him being media savvy. It came across well. I'm a little worried about it. I think it's a risk. You know, like we've all said, we've no idea what's going to happen. The thing for me is, can he reset the culture in that dressing room? And I think that's probably what he's been brought in to do. The three lads that he's got as his backroom staff, hopefully will do the same thing. I know somebody who knows Grant. He was on the goalkeeping staff at Wednesday the same time that Lee Grant was there, and he says he's an absolute diamond of a fella. He's a top bloke. So you know, I'm a big fan of that. But whether or not he can actually do it, I think the key thing for me is that Kev's got to back him. He cannot hire him and fire him. He's got to back him. Now he seems like he seems like he has done. I'll sort the volume out. It seems like he has done it in the transfer market, and he's continuing to do so. Fingers crossed for him, because if he don't get this one right, where do we go next? We've tried experience with Duff. We've tried a new guy. If he sacks another one, nobody's going to want to come to the madhouse, surely. So it's a big appointment for me. It's a risk, but you know, fingers crossed, like you all said, it's going to get sorted.
He can't sack him, can he? Surely we can't do all that again, man. We can't be sat here in January, miserable as sin, saying who's going to be the next one. Then, please, God, no.
Well, that's it. He can't, can he?
But you know, Bradley Peel said here, we're trying this new thing, by the way, where these comments come up automatically. So just let us know if you're seeing them properly. If not, I'll go back to adding them on. But Bradley Peel said, worked with Ragnar and Corbyn, who were coaches, so no reason why it can't work again. And I guess there's always that hope, isn't there? And there's always that bit of excitement that it brings. And there's a part of me that would rather have that than a journeyman manager who you pretty much know what you're going to get. It's I'm all for a bit of excitement in life. So let's see what happens. But like you say, it's going to go. You're laughing at. You
say that.
It's all going to be down to. Yeah, it's all going to be down to the assistants, like you said, and how they're going to work together as a unit, how they're going to guide each other, and let's talk about them one by one. One familiar face, because he's been at Town before, is Mark Bridge-Wilkinson, and he returns to Town, having left in 2015, and he went to be under-14s coach at Liverpool. He's since worked his way up to under-18s. I mean, guys, I guess it's difficult, isn't it? Because really, you know, these are still kind of sort of youngest coaches. But, you know, he's obviously gone away, got some really good experience at Liverpool. He's got experience of bringing younger players on. And I guess quite a few of these signings being quite young, that's kind of what we need, isn't it?
Yeah, they've got to speak the language of the team that they're working with, and you'd hope that they can do that. Apart from Bridge Wilkinson, the only Paul Shane I know of is the one that was on IDI, so that tells you how bloody old I am. And then the other guy I'd never heard of. So again, that's part of the excitement, I guess, is that we've no idea how it's going to turn out. Fingers crossed. Have we? I don't know if we've got a goalkeeping coach yet. I don't know if one of those three is the designated goalkeeping coach. I don't think we have. So that could be interesting, given the the signings that are being mooted. With this Goodman fellow that's potentially knocking about. But we'll see. We'll find out a bit more. I think Killer and I are going to be in Austria certainly for at least 4 days together. So we'll have his spy glasses out and we'll see what we're like. We'll make a beeline for him at the social event that hopefully we'll get to, and we'll grill them and see what they're all about. So it's a risk, but that's part of it, isn't it? It would be boring if it was same old. So let's fingers crossed they're good guys.
There's no more Kevin Russell, so it's got to be a step up on it. Let's be totally honest.
The bloke's got another job. I mean, that's the thing. He's got another job already.
I know.
Peterborough. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And Patterson's just been announced as manager in Notts County.
Yeah, well, I had Peterborough down to do not, because Peterborough normally just regenerate, don't they? From absolutely nowhere, they become relevant again and find some gems from non-league. So at one point this pre-season, I suggested they might do okay next year. I've decided they aren't going to do too well next year. So I'm already putting an early shout in for Peterborough getting relegated just because of one appointment. That's how fickle I am when it comes to changing my own opinion on how a team will do in the season.
Well, I think that, I don't really know him either. I remember Paul McShane as a player. I do remember it. Was he Republic of Ireland international? I think, wasn't he? Decent centre half. He played at a reasonable level. He was at Hull for a while when Hull were in the Premier League, I think. Mark Bridge Wilkinson. All I can ever think now his name is Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So I need to try and get that out of my head, or else I'm going to start calling him that. But yeah, if I've got a concern without a director of football, there's no old head in there. There's no seeing there being it done it type fall back person that they can lean on. I think that would be my only concern, because obviously you've got an American owner who doesn't really know much about the English game either. So maybe that's what they're going to do. Maybe they're going to find a way to put a real experienced head into the coaching team if they're not going down the DOF route. But because there'll be tough times, we all know there's going to be weeks and months where it doesn't go your way, and you've got to try and find it from somewhere. And sometimes you just need somebody who's been there, done it, and seen it. But when you look at their CVs, they've all coached at good levels. They've all got good track records, and certainly on the face of it, they look like a good setup.
Yeah, and I guess the other one we haven't mentioned is Jonathan Robinson, who's worked alongside Steven Gerrard at Al Ettifaq, is it? Be careful how I say it. Al Ettifaq, is it, or something? I don't know. Say it in Yorkshire. I don't know. Saudi Pro League side, anyway. Yeah. Al Ettifaq, it is that, isn't it? What are you laughing at me for then, dickheads?
It's that, yeah.
It's all right. Al Ettifaq. But they've all got, as you said, really good experience of developing, coaching young players, getting the best out of them, and that's brilliant. Like you say, though, is there that experience? Is there that nous, that old head that's been there, done it, that's got specifically League One experience to really sort of just bring it all together? That's my only concern, Ian, that they look great on paper because they've all got experience, that they've worked abroad and they've worked in all these big academy setups and they've worked with some really, really good names in the game. But in terms of actual League One football experience, there's not much there, is there? Is that going to be a problem?
I look at coaching staff similar to how I look at defensive units when it comes to actually playing football, in that you don't sometimes realise or understand why it works, but you just know if you put those guys together, it works. I know that's very simplified, and sometimes in football, analysis look at it far more in depth and work out exactly what the problem is. But I think generally, as a fan and as a very amateur pundit / coach, that's what I kind of see. I'm like, right, if you play those 4 guys there, or 5, if you play 5, you lose him. But if you play 4 and it works, you stick with it. And I think coaching staffs are the same. And that's why when you look at certain managers move, they take their entire coaching staff because they work well as a unit. And if you look at most managers that have done it time and time again, that's what you'll see behind them. Maybe not every coach moves on with them because normally one might stay to take the old gig. But there is a core unit that shifts around, so they're not having to build everything together at once. We are kind of doing that, which is a risk. That's a really big risk. We don't know how well these will work together, because they may have worked at times together, but never as a unit before. And that is a very, very big thing. And just as there's a learning curve when it comes to football players gelling at the same time, and you're expecting them to go out August 2nd, or whatever the day the season starts, we'll find out next week, and expect it to be fantastic, free-flowing northern football on day one is unrealistic, because it takes time to feel your way into a season and work out how players like to play in real games, because friendlies only do so much. I think it's the same when it comes to coaching. I think coaches work together better over time, because they'll work out where someone's strong and someone's weak. We've got an entirely new set. And now one thing it is important to note here as well is when Ipswich, again, we're comparing ourselves to Ipswich now, which depresses me in one aspect, right? Because only a few years ago, we were the Premier League and everyone wanted to copy us and the way we did it. And now we're already looking at other teams who at that point were so far beneath us. We're having to look at trying copying what they're doing. That's a side that's kind of irrelevant, I guess. But when McKenna went into Ipswich first time, he did have a few coaches he brought who were announced on day one when he was announced. We didn't get that with Grant. Grant came in on his own and then retrospectively went around and built his coaching staff. Again, just something to look at. It might not be important. It might fly from day one, but it's definitely not a unit that's coming in ready to go. It's not an IKEA flat pack ready and it's going to be perfect. It's not that. It's going to have to learn and adapt. This is very much a process change, not just an instant fix-it job. We need it. That's exactly the right thing to do, but there's going to be a few teething problems, I expect. But on paper, like I say, individually, as coaches, they all look fantastic. It's just getting them working together as a unit is different than just looking at what it says on paper.
I do think they obviously rushed the Grant announcement, didn't they, because of the season ticket deadline, which they then extended again. But I do think that's part of the reason why there were no coaches announced on his announcement killer, because they were desperate to announce a new head coach to try and rally the season ticket sales. So, whether he'd already had conversations with these guys, or it's always, you don't really know, do you? If you listen to Alan Nixon and the like, we've talked to virtually every out of work manager in the universe before we appointed Grant. So I have a feeling the Grant thing probably came together really quickly once they'd met him. Kev was here, and whether Kev wanted to do a deal while he was here and get it done, and then latterly they've appointed the coaches. That might not be a bad thing, because it means he could have been he can probably spend a bit more time being circumspect and making sure that if he's offering somebody a position on his coaching staff, he's doing it for the right reasons.
James Murgatroyd said, I don't think we could have attracted fans back without a risky manager, as there'd be a lot of booing and, whoever would take the job. Wagner, never happening. I agree. It was never going to happen. I don't think really it would have been the right thing, to be honest. I think we needed a complete... I mean, people use the term reset quite a lot, don't they? And it never really materialises. But I think this is like as close to a proper reset, really, as we're going to get. New manager, completely new backroom staff, loads of new players coming in, fresh ideas, and I think that's exactly what the club needs after the last few years of torment. Whether that's going to be enough to get some of these fans back, I'm not entirely sure. But Terry Jack, 80 days without a manager, it was a long time. So we certainly had time to think about it and assess the options. I guess part of it might have been no one wanted to come. Or certainly the targets we're after probably didn't want to come, but maybe sometimes things work out for a reason. Maybe it was for the best. We're going to find out, aren't we? No director of football, lads. Do we need one? I mean, we seem to be making signings. We seem to have a strategy as to how we want to play and bringing in players to suit that strategy. We've got a head of recruitment. We've got Jake Edwards signing contracts, looking dapper in his suit, posing for pictures with players. Do we really need a director of football taking up another wage, or is it important to have that nous behind the scenes, bringing everything together?
To be fair, Jake Edwards did play professional football. Sorry, Andy. Jake Edwards did play professional football. So you've got a CEO there that is a director of football, effectively. I actually don't think it's as vacant as it seems. I think you've got a guy signing off who does understand football as well. That's quite a difference, I think, to having just a financially driven CEO that's come from a business background. So whilst it looks like there isn't one there between the pair of them, I think if it works this way, it is obviously going to be the best in that it's a wage less. So you can hopefully then put more money into the playing squad. And to be honest, I physically do not understand how a manager, and I know this is very much against modern football, and I'm not that person usually, how a manager doesn't pick his own players for his own squad. Honestly, my ethos when it comes to League One football is you need to, unless you're a massive club that can overspend, you have to find a way to outperform the money you put into the club. A bit different when Nagel as it is. But to do that, you need to do it in a different way. And that's matching up the tactics that you have perfectly with the players you bring in. So the manager should be the most important person when it comes to bringing players in. And I don't think that's always been the case with Town, especially over the last couple of transfer windows anyway. I think it's pretty obvious that there's a little bit of interference coming in from different angles. And we've ended up with a squad of players at the end of last season that didn't fit what any manager we've had wanted to have in the first place. I hope that won't happen now, and I expect it not to happen. And that's going to be such a massive advantage this season, even with an inexperienced manager. At least these guys are coming in to play the kind of football that he wants to play, even if it works or not. It makes more sense. There's some sort of synergy there, just to chuck in a business jargon term.
And I'm assuming
Excellent
the goalkeeping
interface.
coach will come in. Sorry, Andy, go on. What you say, mate?
No, so I think for me, it's about the DOF thing is about that could be the source of experience that I think this group of coaches and Grant need. But as to who provides that experience, yeah, you said, like you said, Jake Edwards is an ex-pro, Mark Carter was an ex-pro. But I think that would be the final piece of the jigsaw for me. I want somebody for them to be able to turn to and go, shit, how do we deal with this? Or I think this is going to be a problem. What should we do with it? I just think that's why it's a risky thing to bring in the lad for his new, with no experience. So I think we've got to have that with him. So I'd be worried if we didn't get that position filled with somebody who knew the game. So certainly knows League One anyway. Who that might be, absolutely no idea. I don't know League One football well enough to be able to offer a name there. But I think the longer it goes on, I think it's all right. Jake Edwards doing what he's doing now, doing the signing of the contracts and identifying the players. It's when the shit hits the fan, which is when we crumbled last season. We need somebody who knows what to do in those situations. Who that might be, God only knows. But I think we've got to have somebody there at some point.
Viewers, what do you think, guys? Do you think we need a director of football? Do you think we should save the wage and spend it elsewhere? I'd be interested to know your thoughts. The goalkeeping coach, I guess, should be announced hopefully this coming week. I mean, we're going to be into pre-season, aren't we? So I would assume that'll be tied up this week. So we'll see who that is. I've no idea name-wise who that is. I mean, it could literally be anyone, couldn't it? So we'll see on that one. But we've also had loads of new players come in after a shed load went. And I think let's talk about each one in turn, guys. So we'll start with Ryan Lidson. So he's 27-year-old midfielder. Signed him on a free from Preston. He's box-to-box or defensively minded midfielder. And he's quite confident in carrying the ball and bringing it up the pitch. Bit O'Brien-esque, maybe not as good as O'Brien was at doing that, but that kind of mould to me. Decent passing range as well. Better passer than Hogg, in my opinion. Certainly likes to tackle. And he's played 215 times for Preston in all competitions over the last 7 seasons. He only scored 7 times with 14 assists. But, to bring a player with that much championship experience at a really good age, coming into his prime really at 27, I think he's a really, really good signing on a free from Town. And obviously he was on the radar for a while because he was first through the door. He was always going to come in, I guess, regardless of the manager. But yeah, I really like this on paper. I think it's just the sort of person you need. And I mean, that midfield were powder puff last season, wasn't it? So just to add a bit of bite to midfield, I don't think can be a bad thing, can it?
No, I think it's a really solid signing, mate. I mean, he played 30-odd games last season as well, in the Championship. So, to be honest, I was a bit surprised he took a step down a level. You would have expected him to be hoovered up by one of the existing Championship teams. Preston are usually mid-table, tickling on the playoffs, aren't they? So, yeah, it looks on paper like a really good signing. I imagine he's on decent money. Of course, we've just shipped a load out that were on big money. So that's going to enable them to pay a few bits of extra wages where they have to get the right bodies. And I'm with you. I think he's going to be a starter. He'll be the first name on the team sheet, I would think, every week, like Hogg used to be in his prime. I'm not sure he's a direct Hogg replacement, but I think he's the one that will be putting his foot in. He'll be the one that's getting about. I saw something, I think Peter Livingston said Murray Wallace to be captain. I actually think it'll be Ledson. I think Ledson will probably be made captain to replace Hogg. And yeah, I think he's a really good addition to what has been a bit of a lopsided midfield.
Yeah, I think he's technically sound defensively. Attacking wise, he's not the most progressive with the ball, but we had such a, like you say, powder puff midfield last year. I think there's down to a few problems. I do think the defence was an issue there as well, leaving a massive space. But with Ledson, what you're going to get is a guy that gives you 7 out of 10 every game. You're not going to get your 10 out of 10 performances out of him. And that's a little bit of an issue and why he's probably not playing at a higher level. But you're also not going to get your 3 out of 10 performances that we had to witness week in and week out from a midfield last season. It was the first statement signing, I thought, where you could see, obviously the first signing anyway, but where you could see what Town were trying to do, and that we need a bit of grit, we need a bit of Northern football, and that really is a Northern football signing, isn't it? It's just a guy that's going to give you everything that he's got. If things aren't going right, he'll chuck his body in the way of somebody. He'll read the game right. How many times last year did someone miss a tackle and not grab somebody to take a booking because they knew there was a goal-scoring opportunity being created? If they don't take that foul, Ledson's not going to do that. And the other signings that we've brought in aren't going to do that either. It was just, it's a good fit for both of us, I think. I think he is good enough, guys, like you say, for upper end championship. But he wants to play, having not played. I know he had 30 appearances last year, but they weren't all starts. He was being a drop-off when it comes to the amount of starts he's had with Preston. And he's at an age where he probably doesn't, I know he sounds ridiculous because he's only 27, but there aren't that many seasons for him left to get 46 games. So he can go to championship and fight for a place again, or he can come to us, like you say, likely be captain, or at least second in line if he's not captain, and be given the game time he's not had for a few years. I think it's a cracking signing. And when you do have a successful season, it's not just your Joe Taylors who bag 30 that get you to that point. It's your players like Ryan Ledson that do the running, that do the tackles, do the dirty work, make sure you don't lose games and just keep you winning. And just lifts everybody up when they need it. It's again, cracking signing. A really nice way to, it was a nice way to start signing players, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you happy as well, mate? You're nodding.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Despite, was it Elphick he finished in a tackle? But yeah, he's division above. He's played regular division above. That has got to be a good signing for us. And there's something in Terry Jack's, but he's had knee surgery. But you know that's 3 years ago. So hopefully he's over that now. No, like him a lot. I think every signing that we've had, I know we're going to go through them all, but every one of them to me strengthens the club, and it's better than what has gone out the door. So I expect us to improve on our 10th place position this season, hopefully. But yeah, you'll like him a lot, Ledson.
Let's hope so. And the second through the door, talking of players playing at a higher level, was Marcus Harness. And you know, I mean, he's 29, so he's a good age. Played mostly as a winger, but can play as a 10. He's quick. He's strong in possession. He's good at putting a ball in the box. He was on loan at Derby last season. Featured 42 times throughout all competitions, so good appearances again. Only 4 goals and 4 assists, but we're talking about a team that was struggling in the Championship, so that's understandable. And when he was playing in League One for Ipswich, he bagged 12 goals and 8 assists, so more than capable at this level. Again, guys, I'm really pleased with that on the free. I think to get him to drop down, I think is really good business from Town.
It is, and I think there's 2 things. There's 2 things that surprised me, Marcus. One, he's only 29. I feel like he's been around forever. You know, he seems to play about 30 seasons already. And you know, when he was at Ipswich, he was one of their star men. And this Derby fans are really disappointed, by the way. They've not managed to secure him permanently. My old boss is a Derby fan, and he was gutted that they've not managed to sign him. He was surprised he dropped a level. So I think it's a really good signing. Sorry, I have my beers here. Hang on. Yeah, I think he's a really good signing. I think he works really hard as well. He works both ways, and I think that's possibly why the Derby fans took to him as well. Even though they were in a struggling team, he gave plenty in games, not always in attacking, but he was a hard worker. So honestly, I think that's a really good sign. And a bit like Ledson, it's one I was surprised the bloke took a step down in level to come and play regular football. But good news. And clearly he knows Grant and was happy to work with Grant again, which is encouraging.
He was great for Derby at the end of last year. When Eustace came in, they changed the way he played. So he played more of as a winger initially, and it didn't really work too well, didn't it? And then they put him in the 10 role. He played as like a second striker for back end of the season and did really well. And okay, the stats don't show it again, but if you're winning games, you've got to look and scoring goals. You can get the assist of the assist, and it doesn't show up on anything. And that's the kind of player he is, and that's the kind of player you need. Because again, it shows a selflessness in that he's not taking the risky chances himself if an easier pass is on to create it for somebody else to then get the assist. I think Harness is the best signing we've made. I think it's the least risk signing we've made. And I'm with you guys. I thought he'd got a deal in the Championship. To me, it shows another guy coming in who must have good character. And of course, again, I look through all other teams' forums whenever we sign anyone. I go back years just to see what they've thought of him before he's come in, as he's played his first few games, as he's kind of hit the peak there, and then after he's left, just to see how kind of that roller coaster of fans' feelings of certain players going. But with Harness, everyone loves him all the time. And if there's if a team's outgrown him, which only Ipswich have done, people still accept that he can offer something some way. He started the first 2 games in the Premier League, I think, last year. They played in them. I don't know if he started them, I can't remember, but he had some involvement, and then just he's at that level, a bit like Elias Kachunga, maybe. I think that was a similarity we chucked in with Harness in that he's not blisteringly fast, but he's defensively really, really sound. And that's not nice to say when you're talking about a winger or a number 10, but he just does the press right. Everything up there is controlled. And again, that's not what we had last year. We didn't have a control midfield. We had a vacant midfield. This, again, patches a hole that has been there for quite a while. He's a guy that stays fit as well. He's a guy that's going to be there and about for most games next season, which is another problem we faced. I couldn't be behind this signing any more than I am. I think it's an absolute cracker.
There will be a full back in League One. I'll enjoy playing against Marcus Harness. That's for sure. He brings a completely different dimension to anybody that we had last year.
And he's versatile again. It's that versatility. He can play as a 10. He can play out wide. When we're trying to switch a formation, depend on what team we're playing, or if we're trying to change something in game, he offers that option, which we didn't have. We didn't have that last season, and that's why I think there's a bit more sense in these signings. There's a bit more strategy. There's a bit more thought gone into them than last season. Whereas last season it all felt a bit, well, he played well the season before, let's get him, rather than looking at players to suit the systems that we want to play. Next one, Joe Lowe. He'll become a town player on the 1st of July after conclusion of his contract with Wickham. There'll be due a compensation fee, so that's going to have to go to a tribunal. But look, he's a bit of a beast. He's 6'5", commanding presence at the back. For such a young guy, he made 42 appearances for Wickham last season, so you know he can go the distance. And he's at 2 caps for Wales as well. And interestingly, he came through at Bristol City, but he's had spells in non-league. He's had spells at Dorchester Town, Frome Town, Yate Town, and Eastleigh. So it's big boys football. He's come through that, survived it. He'll have built a lot of character playing for those teams. And I mean, scored 8 goals across 2 seasons for Wickham. So not exactly, Pearson-esque from set pieces, but, it's just his height alone. Again, it's offering something different that we didn't have last season. Aerial presence at the back, threat from corners at the other end of the pitch. And for a young guy, he's still got a chance to develop. Again, guys, I'm really pleased with this one. I think this is the sort of signing that we should be making, especially in League One.
Yeah, and he'll bring a physicality that we bemoan. How many times have we moaned about that last year, where we just didn't have physicality, certainly defending the set pieces. He's a young guy as well. He's 24, so they're going to expect to be able to develop him and bring him on in his game. I would imagine he's one of those they've got an eye on, really, that they think they can probably turn in 2 or 3 seasons for several million quid. I would think is probably how they're looking at that. He's an investment as well, but he can play immediately. He's played 72 games in this in this league already, and he's only 24. So, yeah, I think on paper, mate, it looks another good signing. But let's be honest, centre back was an area where we were pretty desperate for some bodies, and I think to nick somebody from Wickham, I think is probably a really encouraging sign.
Yeah, I'm with you. And he's of an age where he will get better. At the end of last season, Wickham didn't play him. He kind of did fall out of favour there. He didn't play in the playoffs. He didn't play against us at our place either. So he's a young lad. He has had issues before in regards to confidence. When he was at Bristol City, I think he only played one game for them, and he got pretty much hounded off against Lincoln in a cup game. Again, I'm pretty sure that's correct. I can't remember now. But he had a pretty torrid time. He's a really big lad, so the ball at his feet, there is limitations there. Of course, there is. Not all big guys are useless at the feet, but he's not blessed with blistering pace or beautiful passing of the ball. He's got a few weaknesses there, but again, we are a team of we were a team of very, very small footballers. We needed to bring some height in. You could see it at the Leyton Orient game at home on it, guys, where we were defending a corner and they had one guy from our team that were taller than only one person on the Orient team when it came to attacking. It was ridiculous how small we were last year. So we definitely needed some height, and this was the first one and the first sign that we were sorting it out. We needed that many centre backs this season that we're going to have to get a list of 12, 13, 14 of them, because you need 4 or 5 of them to come in. We have absolutely zero centre backs. Our ball crew is never fit. And Spencer, who is, in my eyes, still a fullback, not even a centre-back. So you're going to have to get guys like this that are a little bit risky, and that, again, didn't work out at Wickham at the end of the year. They failed in the playoffs, and he wasn't in their starting 11, and we're hoping to do better than that this season. But he is young, and this season, it'll be better than next season. I'm sure of it. But you have to take gambles like this because we need to bring so many guys in. I think it's a good signing. A good signing with again a low floor in that I don't think it's very high risk at all. I think he's going to be able to offer us something, and with the way we ended up that last season with Turton playing at fullback, at centre back at some time, then we had absolutely zero bodies. That shouldn't be a problem now following this transfer and the few that came in after it. Joe Lowe, young lad, Wickham, and like you say, guys, we were at a HSA ATT meeting a few months ago, and the club were talking about this, that they'd shifted a little bit the model in regards to signing players that are a little bit younger on a little bit longer contracts, so then they can kind of turn and churn and make money if possible, and then try and reinvest that to inflate how much we can spend on our players and eventually try and break even. And he's the right kind of guy you bring in to do that. So again, it's a signing that makes sense. And again, that's what I feel we've had on every signing this season. Every signing we've made so far feels right. And if it works out or not, who knows? That's a different thing. But until this point, it looks sensible, and it's nice to be that way.
Yeah, and then we only go and sign another youngster, don't we, at left back, Sean Rowan from Lincoln. We love taking players from Lincoln, don't we? They must absolutely hate us at Lincoln because we've got him for not a free. Again, we'll have to pay some compensation because he's under 24, but we have agreed that fee, so it won't need to go to tribunal. He's predominantly a left back, but he has played left of the back three at Lincoln. But again, he was ever present. He made 52 appearances last season for Lincoln, which is, for a 22-year-old, is pretty awesome, really. He's represented Republic of Ireland under 21 6 times, and he's already got 123 appearances at League One at just 22. Scored 5 goals and assisted 9 in 148 appearances. I thought it was quite interesting that Lee Grant, when all the spiel came out about him, a lot of people assumed that he would play centre-back on left side, but Grant specifically called him as a left-back, which makes me think that that's where he's going to play. But again, he adds that flexibility in there that we can change systems. It does make me wonder whether if one of Miller or Ruskin will leave. But, again, he's just the sort of player for me we should be signing. Someone with potential, someone wears his heart on his sleeve. A lot of the Lincoln fans loved him. And to play that many games at that age and have that experience, I think this, for me, this is my favourite signing of the lot, because I think this bloke could turn out to be a brilliant player for us longer term. But Andy, mate, what do you reckon to it? You're on mute.
I'm having a bloody technological nightmare tonight. There we go. Alma, for volume, am I still loud or am I all right?
You're fine.
You're all right.
I'm all right,
You're good.
Okay. So what I like about him is that what I've heard, forget all his ROI appearances, rep team 148, all that appearances, that type of stuff. He's an absolute mentality monster, not a mentality midget. He's one of these that he's trying to get better all the time. I think that's why he's come here. I think that's what he thinks that Lee Grant will do for him. The reports I've heard from people that I know out there are that he's 100% committed, and I think that's what we need. We can't afford to have any. We're going to have a revamp of the culture in the dressing room. He's exactly the type of guy that we need, and I think that's the feeling that I've got from all of them so far in terms of they're much more strong mentality-wise. Footballing-wise, we'll see, but in terms of attitude, that's the thing that impresses me about this guy from what I've heard. So yeah, really, really good signing.
It's quality because you can see on YouTube he's got training videos when he was playing in Ireland. He did extra training to try and convert to being a left back because I think he played as a centre back, and he's 6'2" or 6 foot. I think he's 6'2" or 6'1". But if you watch him play, he doesn't play like he's 6'1". He plays pretty small. I don't know how that's the case, but honestly, if you watch him, he doesn't look as big as he apparently is. Maybe it's like me. I tell everyone I'm 5'10", and I'm pretty sure I'm 5'9". But it feels like a big difference being 5'10" compared to being 5'9". So I wonder if that's what's going on a bit here. But to be fair, my Australian driving license, they ask you when you apply for it, I'll tell you why. That says I'm 5'10", so I'll go with that forevermore. But he doesn't play like he's a big guy. He plays like he's quite athletic, and I think he noticed that himself. And like you say, and he's got that warrior mentality where he just puts the effort in. Played every minute of every league game last year. That is unbelievable. It cannot have been done very often in the last 20, 30 years. It just can't be, not for a defender. I bet there won't be more than 10, 20 people that have done it in that time. I can't remember even somebody else that's done it other than a goalkeeper. Or a centre-back that doesn't run forward. But he does. Honestly, he gets the yards in. I'm very high on all these signings so far, but I think he's really, really good. And he's going to be the legs, hopefully, next to one of the bigger centre-backs. Although it was a signing that made me question what kind of system we'll go with, in that he does lend himself more to being a left-sided centre-back or a right-sided centre-back, depending on what you want, but in a back three rather than a back two, because he doesn't have that ball-playing ability you need or the positional sense to play in a two if you are playing with a big guy. But who knows on that one? But no, he was a guy, again, where you can look at our problems last season, and that was that nobody stayed fit. We've gone out and got the fittest guy in League One last season to come and play for us. Common sense signing. Northern football and northern decision making when it comes to common sense and signing players. But that's how it feels at the moment. And again, it's not seasons out on at this point. I get it. Not by the guys talking about getting overexcited. I mean, I'm stupid enough to have renewed more or less on day one because I can't help myself. But it does look like it's a sensible signing once again. And you understand that after looking at January this year, January the year before, basically all the signings last summer, and how risky they've turned out to be. We're going down a more trusted kind of path, and Rowan's another part of that.
He brings more flexibility, like Harness, as you say. He can play more than one position, and that when you've got that in your squad, certainly in the match day squad, it makes your team on the pitch, and then the use of your bench, it gives you more options, but it makes you way more flexible. Then we were all excited about the last fullback we signed from Lincoln, like Stephen Shepherd said. So let's not put too much pressure on the guy.
Well, the only thing I'll say about that is I put a lot of work in talking to Lincoln fans and reading about what Lincoln fans said. And when Sorensen joined, they all basically said, "We got Darrico, we're not that bothered." That was pretty much to a man. Very different when it comes to Rowan. He's definitely been under-respected when it comes to other teams in League One. Looking at him, thinking he's either a bit of a standout. Where the Lincoln fans, they love him. It's more Toffolo than it is Sorensen this time.
Well, he's come through their academy, hasn't he? So I think Andy's got a real point. At 24-year-old, he's clearly decided he's got to go and sample the big wide world to really put his career where he wants it to be, and he thinks that's Huddersfield Town, which is surprising and pleasing in equal measure.
One of my mates is a Lincoln fan, and he was pissed off that when he come to us, he was not happy, which music to my ears, because usually other fans are laughing when when we signed their dog shit, and it's nice to have a few tears instead of laughs for a change. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the side. And we've also got another youngster join, which was a bit out of left field. Josh Feeney, 20 years old, on a season-long loan from Aston Villa. Again, 6'4", so he's not short, is he? So again, more height in there. Made a lot of appearances, 50 appearances for Villa's under-23s. He did captain England under-16s, played for the under-18s as well. Had a loan spell with Villa's sister club, I think. Is it Real Union? And then last season, of course, he was at Shrewsbury Town. Made 37 appearances for them. I've seen. I didn't know much about him, in all honesty. I've seen some of the highlights, which we all know can be quite deceptive. It looks like he has a reasonable pass. Don't look the quickest, but again, he's a bit of a presence back there. Brings some much needed height to that back line again. And someone, I guess, we were desperately short of centre backs. It's someone that can slot in and out, I guess, when required. I don't think this is a bad signing, really.
It's not. It's not much of a risk, and if he's come on loan, after that, it's probably not the same as signing somebody on a 2 or 3 or 4 year deal, is it? So it's not a massive risk. You know, the Villa Academy has good credibility, so he's coming from a good environment, I would think. And that then takes you, it depends what you class Spencer as, but if you class Spencer as a centre half, that takes your centre half numbers to 5. And I have a feeling he's going to play with the back 4, in which case that probably gives you the depth that you're going to need. I do wonder, like you said, Killer, whether he sees Spencer as a right back, because that's the place where we have a gaping hole in the squad now. So, yeah, I think it's a really good sign. I'm with you, Nick. I didn't really notice him when we played Shrewsbury. I think that's a good thing or a bad thing. But he's another 6'4", and there's another big lad in here.
That's it, big lad. We need signings. He's on loan, and he's on loan. He's cheap. No risk, but he's proven at League One that he's played at this level. He can handle the bumps and bruises you get. He's not going to suddenly get injured unless the Huddersfield Town curse grabs him like it did everybody else last season. But other than that, it's a very safe signing. He can also play anywhere on the back, like central line, in that he's played left centre back, and right centre back for Shrewsbury last year, both in a 2 and in a 3 in a defensive unit. So he's flexible, he's young, he's highly respected, and he's going to get better this year than he was last year, just because he's getting older and more experienced. And last year he played in a team that had to fight tooth and nail for every single point. That's a very tough thing to do for a young lad on loan. He's coming to us where we'll have a little bit more of the ball. If he's still at Villa, I'm guessing he can play the ball okay at his feet, because you have to be technically a little bit better to play at a Premier League academy for so long and at England international level. So it's going to be a guy that's going to be able to offer us a little bit more on the floor, I think, than what we could see at him at Shrewsbury last year. Another sensible signing.
I think when you're signing so many young players, my concern was at the time, where's that experienced, calm head, that influence in the dressing room, someone to really sort of get stuck into them and be vocal when things maybe aren't going our way. So I did think it was important that we signed someone with that experience, maybe like a 30-something ex-Prem or Championship defender who's been there, done it. And then we go and bring back Murray Wallace, don't we? And 32-year-old, obviously a lot of us know about him because he was at Town, but he went on to have a great career at Millwall. Their fans absolutely loved him. Again, 6'2", so good height, amazing experience. He's 258 Championship appearances and 124 League One appearances. I think he played for Scunny at one point, didn't he? Plays central defence and can play left back. So again, there's versatility there, and it gives us options on that left-hand side of defence. And Grant specifically referenced his experience and leadership qualities. And I think that this is the sort of signing that it's not on paper, it's not going to get anybody excited. But actually, when you're going for promotion, you need the right characters in there. Like we've said before, with the likes of Tom Lees, etc., Jonathan Ogg, you need these people in and around. And to me, 2-year deal, yeah, I've no problem with that whatsoever. Gaz?
Yeah, I agree. I did the reverse of Marcus Arnott. I didn't realise he was that old. I thought he was about 30. So, but yeah, the guy's got oodles of championship experience. He's another one that's well over 6 foot. If you play the Millwall team, you have to be robust. You have to put yourself about because the Millwall fans accept nothing less in every game. So he's going to bring that kind of mentality back with him, isn't he? So, I think your point's a really good one, Nick, that, you've got 3 young lads we've signed for the defence. You chuck Murray Wallace in there, suddenly there's a real steady old head. I don't know whether that means he'll play every game, by the way. I mean, I think that I'm not sure Wallace will play every game, but I think he might. I think he'll be the one that Lee Grant turns to probably in the big moments when we've got games against people where we need to win, or it's top of the table, or whatever it is.
No, I agree. I see him as a club captain, not as a first team captain. So whether they have that distinction or not, but I think the on-field captain will probably be Ladson. I think he'll play more of a. I wonder whether he's going to transition into coaching, because I think he's done his refereeing badges. I think at some stage, which just tells you a little bit about him. I think, but I wonder whether he might, if they do such a thing, give him the title of club captain, and I think he'll have a lot to do with driving the change in how people approach preparation, because he's proper looked after himself to play, like you say, for Millwall. They only accept a certain way of playing down there, and you've got to be, made out of steel really to play a lot of games, 250 games for them. So yeah, a lot of time for him. I think. I saw a comment about good old TI going to Notts County. Obviously, I'm gonna switch my allegiance to another player. I have been offered a player, but this is the guy that I want. So I'm going to go back to the club tomorrow and go, right, can I have him instead if he's not been offered to somebody else? Because I liked him for a spell. I thought he got a little bit about him. I think he's done really, really well at Millwall, and I like the fact that he just plays it in the right way, and he's got a great attitude on and off the pitch. So that's the type of guy that I want to be associated with. So yeah, really, really, a lot of time for him.
He's going to be the right guy for certain games, I think. Whether he can do it, let's say, for 46 games or not, I don't know. Because last year at Millwall, did he only play 10 games? He might have. That's I can remember.
Yeah, that's right.
I think he only won 1, drew 2, and lost 7. They had a pretty awful spell when he was playing. I think it was their worst run all season. And that's not exactly glowing, but I love the way he defends. He chucks himself in at everything. He reads the game well. Unfortunately, his body's not quite there as it once was in regards to being able to stand high on the line and run back and chase strikers. He has to sit a little bit deeper, which won't work, I don't think, against your Leyton Orients if the front three was like it was this season, or against Wickham or against Birmingham. But against, again, Wigan, Tuesday night, away from home in February, needs something a little bit different. That's the guy for that kind of game. That's what League One is. You have to have it's horses for courses, isn't it, in this league? And I don't like cliches like that, but it really is like that. Different games. You've got Mansfield in the wind, or there's things that happen during a season where you need just a bit of a beefcake guy who's going to do the simple things right and just get the ball out of there. And if the ball is in there and there's going to be an effort on goal, he does anything he can to stop a clean shot. Because last year, that's another thing. No one blocked any shots, did they? Every time somebody got near the edge of the box, try and put an effort in, there's more or less, yeah, go on, mate, have a go, no problem. That won't be the case with that. Won't be an issue with Murray Wallace. It's just that he's going to be able to give everything he's got. How much he's got left in his career, I'm not entirely sure. I think Jack mentioned there he had a stress fracture in his back. He had one in his back, didn't he? I think against Rotherham. Did he break his back against Rotherham a couple of years ago in the first couple of minutes, and then played for 25 minutes? That's the guy. Yeah. That's the guy that he is, and that's a fantastic guy to have in any kind of League One team. We know what he's about. We've had him here before. He knows what the club's like. He's not going to turn up and complain that there's only toast to eat on a morning or whatever Eric Dern did that time when he came over. But it's going to be he knows what it's about. So no, again, another straightforward signing that helps us and is an improvement on what we had last year.
I guess Joe, by the way, Joe Canaston has asked about whether we're going to be signing either Lowe or Galbraith. And we'll touch on that later, mate. So hang fire for that. But the things that have stood out for me on the signing so far, and feel free just to cut in, guys, if you've got any comments on these, I think it's good that we're getting players on frees early. Yeah, we've got to play some compensation, but they're all of good quality. My only concern is pace. So we're getting the physicality, the height, we're getting some power back in the side, but I'm a bit concerned about pace, particularly at the back. But we look like now we have a recruitment strategy, and we're bringing in players with flexibility to be able to make formation changes, not just in game, but we can adapt to play against certain teams with different styles of play. They're pretty much all 6 foot or taller, apart from Ledson. They're all 6 foot or above, so we're getting much needed height back into the side, which we've lacked for years. We've got good leaders coming in, so Ledson, Wallace, and Harness have all been club captains in the past, and even like your Josh Feeney was captain for England under 16. So we're getting players in with the right mentality and leadership qualities that you need. And I think defensively we look a lot more solid. Ledson will give us some bite in midfield. I do think though we're still lacking some creativity in the midfield. And also, where's the wingers? I think we need wingers to come in if we want to play a bit wider. Yeah. We don't really have that other than Harness, do we? Is there anything, Gaz, and Ian stormed out, I think, unless is his curry going cold? His
curry's arrived, I think that's why he's gone.
Guys, curry. What is there anything else to add to that, guys? What are your thoughts? Because it's still early, but it's nice, isn't it? We're getting players in early, ready for that pre-season, to have a full pre-season with us.
It is right, but I think the only thing, if you listen to the social media people on social media talk about League One football, most of whom aren't Huddersfield fans, I might add. People saying we've got the league sewn up already, talking about these signings. Bear we signed, 2 players last year who'd been player of the season for their club the season before. So, these all look, if we can, all the things we complained about, physicality, youth, organisation, looking like you're recruiting or playing to a plan, all the things we didn't have last year, certainly since Lee Grant's entered the building, it's starting to look like we actually have one. So I'm with you, Nick. I'm really encouraged. I guess we're going to talk about what else we think we need in a minute. But I do feel a lot happier with those signings than probably I did with Evans and Sorensen and Kane perhaps the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And optimistic?
I'm optimistic. I think that I'm going to talk about the loan of Galbraith. We're going to have a chat about that a bit later on. If we're going to have big lads knocking around on the park, you're going to need people to cross the ball into the box, aren't you? So, and Sorensen was able to do that last year. Miller could do that. Ruskin, to a certain extent, could do that. So I think I don't know whether Harness is left or right-footed. I don't know enough about him, to be honest. But we've got people who can get the ball in. But I would like a couple of all these signings are great, but none of them have made me go, oh wow. It's we've got what we needed, but there's nothing yet that makes me go, oh wow, I can't wait to see him play. So you would want to see something. That Galbraith guy sounds like an absolutely amazing player, and that cross he did that just went over the top of Tom's head last game of last season. I think that'll live long in the memory. But I just want something to make me get a little bit more excited about it. Because it's absolutely the right thing to do. So I'm not criticising the club in any way, shape, or form. I just want something with a bit more flair to it. Whether that's on the wing or in the centre of the park, I don't know. Whether that's a centre forward who can do what Nathan Lowe did in the first half of the season for Walsall last year, I don't know. I just want something a bit more exciting because it's great, but I think we just need something else, a bit of an X factor which we haven't got yet.
Bradley's just asking the question in terms of spending, like how it works in League One, and I know we've got a smaller percentage of revenue we're allowed to spend, and I guess with the season tickets, God only knows what revenue we've actually got there. But we've got to leave it in their hands, I guess. I mean, we I guess we'll not know what we've got, so we've got to put our trust in Mr. Nagel and the boys to do it. I mean, I don't imagine they'd do anything that would put us on any undue risk. So I think we've got to just go with whatever we spend is within limits and or hope, because that's all we can do as fans, innit? Hope that they're not doing anything stupid. But yeah, Feathers McGraw asks, is the kit getting released next week? I mean, yeah, I would like to think so. It'd be nice to wear it at Emley. I mean, it can't be long, can it? It can't be long till it's released. Be interesting to see what they come up with. I mean, to me, blue and white stripes is blue and white stripes. I don't get all giddy over kits, but I know some people, it's really important to some people. So, be looking forward to that. It'll be interesting to see how much they are, by the way. Now it's Castor, what are they going to be going for? And we'll see.
25% off for season ticket holders, don't forget.
Yeah,
it just means they put price up 25% to start with.
but when they're 80 quid, it's not much.
They can't be 80 quid. So they can't be 80 quid.
Nah, well, who knows? Let's hope not. We've all renewed, by the way, haven't we? We're all giving it. Oh, we're not renewed. We don't know if we're going to renew, and we always do, don't we? We
always
all
gone in, yeah.
In the end,
Yeah.
Sad saps here.
Yeah.
We're just gluttons for punishment. Gluttons for punishment, aren't we? But yeah. After what you said, Andy, let's talk about what we need then moving forward. We've made a good start. 6 in. We need more, don't we? We need more, especially in terms of creativity and attack, and I think pace as well. And as you mentioned, we've been linked with Ethan Galbraith, 24 years old. He got 6 goals and 6 assists last season. 2 million, 2.5 million. Is that a large amount for a player in League One that's only got 6 goals and 6 assists? I mean, I like him as a player. I enjoy watching him, but that seems a lot of money to me. I mean, or is that the going rate these days? I'm not really sure.
Well, we said, didn't we? We're going to want at least 6 or 7, and we've got half a dozen in now. I think we're still a big striker short, which I think probably everybody is crying out for a big striker out there.
Yeah,
and also, at least you're going to have at least a couple of wingers, and then and Gilbreth. I do think there'll be a marquee signing. I think there'll be one. It'll either be Lowe or Galbraith. I'm not sure we could afford both. Lowe may come in on loan, of course, but I think everybody in the mother's sniffing around him on loan, aren't they?
Yeah,
which maybe why Stoker decided to catch in on him. If there's that much interest, shall we just sell him? Because the Stoke fans, when he played for them in the Championship, he struggled. So I'm not sure he's going to get much time at Stoke this year. I think to make room for another 2, 3, 4 signings, I do think they're going to have to clear the squad out. We remain way too heavy on strikers. I think they need to get rid of at least 2 of Charles, Healy, Ladapo, and Radulovic. At least 2 of them 4 have to be gone. And Healy's always injured. Charles has been a bit of a duffer, hasn't he? Ladapo, who on earth is going to take him off with our hands, and same goes with Radulovic. So I think they'll probably try and find a home for some of them on loan. But yeah, I think I'd like a big striker. I'd like at least a couple more players that add some more width and pace. And then I think we're good to go. And I also think one of Miller or Ruskin will be goners as well.
It's just me and you, Gaz. Everyone's leaving. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully they'll come back. To me, like League One, it's simple, really. What do you need? You need someone that smashes the shit out of everyone at Middle Park. You need 2 pacey wingers that can whip a ball in, a big bruising centre forward, and 2 big ugly ogres at centre back. And if you've got that, you're going to get top 6.
We're not far short when you look at that.
We're not far short. And I think you're right. We need to offload some of these strikers. But, I mean, who's taking them, mate? That's what... I mean, Reece Ely, I've no idea what the situation with him is. I don't know if he's going to be back fit. If he's... I have absolutely no idea what's happening with him. Freddie Ladapo, I guess the only ray of hope is that under Grant, he actually did quite well. Whether he can just, I don't know, play some kind of minor part, but no one's taking him. We've still got Kyle Ludlin on the books. Hopefully, we can get rid of him. Yeah, we can get shut of him, hopefully. Bojan Radulovic, I think we can loan him out. I think he will go out on a more likely a loan than buy, because again, I'm not sure who's going to be buying him. But I think again, Nathan Lowe, look, he did really well for Walsall, didn't he? Scored 15 goals, I think, and you saw how much they dropped off when he went, how integral he was to the side. But he only scored once in 10 games for Stoke, so his level really is probably around League One. That's not to say he can't develop. Again, he's tall, so he fits the bill in that respect. Bit of a poacher in the box, I'd say, though, more than someone who can just bring people into play. But it's the wide positions for me. I think we need at least 2 wingers, at least. And they don't come cheap. Not decent wingers. So it'll be interesting to see where we prioritise the money. The rumours are Galbraith and Lowe, but there could be someone completely left field just emerges that we end up buying for 2 million from Dutch League or something at random. You just don't know. But to me, I think we definitely need a couple of players in wide areas just to give us that option and hopefully inject some pace into the side as well. Miller's really good, but he's injury prone. Ruskin, by all accounts, doesn't seem very happy. So is he going to go back?
I do wonder whether he's going to try Miller or Ruskin on the left wing, you know.
I think he will, Gaz. I think Miller would be top
before he brings him out and brings another left winger in.
But I think if a Ruskin went, you know, even with that, it only leaves us with 2 or 3, and you've only to get an injury, and suddenly that means we're very light and we're restricted again. Then in the sort of formation we can play, so it makes sense to bring in at least 1 or 2 wingers, doesn't it? Just to give us that option.
So I was talking to Connor earlier. So when we're talking about players that we've got, Connor asked the question: is there anybody we should have kept? Now you've seen the shape of the squad and what Grant's brought in. Is there anybody we should have kept out of the ones we've released that might have actually added to this and answered some of the conundrums we've got?
Andy, what do you reckon?
I think you could probably make an argument for Danny Ward with his ability to bring players in, and you know, and he's not that target man number 9, is he? But he's pretty good at, you know, getting hold of it and laying it off, and he works hard. But again, injury worries. Is he going to be able to play? To be honest, the rest of them, no, not for me. I'd have thought about, like I said, Danny Ward, but the rest of them, no. And I think we will lose from the existing squad as well. You know, there's some comments in there about. I think Nichols is going to go. I think Spencer's going to go. I don't know anything, but that's just my gut feeling. Ruskin, by the sounds of it, as well. But in terms of the ones that went, the only one I could probably make a case for might be Danny Ward. But I agree with like Joe Carnaston. I'm not sure about Ben Wiles, but obviously Killer's not here and he can't hear this, so Ben Wiles probably could be a victim of other players coming in. He hasn't got a T-shirt, so he's not in the gang. So we can't take his opinion into account. I think Reece Healy will go. Calvert-Lewin, who? Why are we even talking about him? He should be gone. So I think Healy, Bojan, and those 4 will go along on top of Nichols and Spencer. But yeah, Ward would be the only one for me. The rest, thanks very much for your service. See you later, and we'll shush you when you come with Doncaster, Matty Pearson. If it don't go well for you, there'll be plenty of that going on if they go 4-0 down and he's at fault for 2 of the goals. But then knowing him, he'll pop up in South Stand and he'll just knock one in, and then he'll just run in front of South Stand like that, won't he? Brilliant. Pantomime villain. Love it.
Yeah, I don't have any ill feelings to any of the players, but look, we were awful, weren't we? And I think sometimes you just need a complete cultural reset. You know, it's not down to specific individuals. It was a collective effort. But there's nobody that I'm like, oh, I'm gutted. There's nobody. I like Tom Lees because of the experience, and I thought it was for a free. I thought it was a great signing for us, and like Jonathan Horgan. But it's more sentiment than out. I think we need to move on. And Sorba Thomas going he were never going to stay, were he? We've got some money for him. We've done well in that regard. So, you know, that's all on good. I wish him well. Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't have personally. I wouldn't have kept any of them. Even like your Karomas, I think it was time for him to move on. Although he did well in spells, just too inconsistent. And they did. None of them seemed like their heart were in it to the end. They were just. It was all a bit disconnected, and they all looked a bit mentally fatigued. And I think for them, as much as us as well, they needed a bit of a refresh, a new challenge. So,
I still think there's some in the existing squad that we could do with trimming. To go with
well,
them.
let's talk about it, mate. We've mentioned Nichols. We're linked with Goodman from Palace. Someone put a blooper reel up, because we like to do that. We like to lace someone before they've even signed, if he even is going to be signed. But by all accounts, it was a big part of why Wimbledon did so well last season. He's got a really good reputation. I would have absolutely no problems him coming in as an option whatsoever if Nichols is to be going. Ruskin, I'm not sure whether he'll be here. To be honest, like I said, he doesn't seem very happy. Although he showed in patches what he could do, he didn't do it over a sustained period. Was that his fault or was it just circumstance? I'm not sure. Brody Spencer, some things just telling me in the back of my mind that he's going to be on his way. I'm not sure what it is, but I think I could see him leaving and us bringing a right back in. Evans, I can't say I'd be too fussed if he went because he didn't really do much. All the hype from Bristol Rovers, best player, he's going to do this and that. Didn't really see any of that, did we? Unfortunately. And hopefully Bojan and Hudlin, but I can't see the likes of Ladapo and Healy going anywhere. As much as I think they should, I don't think they will because I don't think anyone will take them. Is there anyone else, guys, or do you disagree with any of those?
Like I said, Dion Charles, you have to question, has he got a place in it going forward? But I think we do need at least one or two more wide men, especially if Miller or Ruskin. Probably the Miller he's injured 85% of the bloody time, and that's the problem. So nobody doubts Miller's ability. The lad's a really good foot, and if he weren't forever injured, he wouldn't be playing for Huddersfield Town, would he? So I don't think it's done yet. I think we'll probably see another 2 or 3, and I do think there'll be one big marquee signing in it. I think there'll be because he's done well. The people he's brought them in on frees or bits of compensation, hasn't he? And he's cleared out 10, 12 players and only brought 6 in. So his wage bill deficit should have improved massively. So we're in a good position. Kev's in a good position to be able to push the button and buy the right players and spend the money if he has to.
I think he's got to balance it a bit, hasn't he? If we've not paid out, we've got some money for Sorba. I think Spencer and Nichols will go. I think we'll look to cash in on Spencer because he's coming into that last year of his contract, isn't it? So this is the time to sell him. So, and I think he's been at the club a long time, isn't he? Is he looking for a fresh challenge? I think I probably would if I were him. And Nichols, would we get a fee? I don't know, but you'd certainly get his wages off the book. So I think those will be definitely 2 that will go. That they've been great servants, and I'll be sad to see, particularly Spencer go. But Nichols has been there 4 years, so that's a long time for a footballer at any one club. So you can't question his loyalty, and he's probably had approaches before and has wanted to go by the sounds of it before. But I think he's got to try and get some brass in so he can make the marquee signing. So it wouldn't surprise me if a couple of them went to fund that, whoever it might be.
Joe Canasson thinks Evans will have a good season. I hope he does, mate, if he stays. I hope he does. And you could be right, different team around him. Maybe sometimes it just don't work for whatever reason, and then suddenly it clicks. So if he stays, obviously I hope he's going to do well. Same with Ben Wiles. I've always thought it was all right. I don't necessarily get the bashing of him. I know sometimes he goes absent in games, but bloody hell, who didn't last season? He still had reasonable goals and assists for us, more than most. So again, with new teammates around him, maybe better service, better runners, more space. Could he kick on next season? Don't know. Who knows? But, one thing's for sure, Danny Ward, Sorba Thomas, Jonathan Ogg, big wages off the books. Big wages off the books. So it's not just, it's we should be saving quite a lot there on wages compared to last season. So hopefully we've got the money to spend a few quid, because we're going to need it. The players that are creative, the players who've, a flash of pace, that could whip a ball in, or that can create, that can get a goal from nothing. Those aren't cheap, but those are what we need. We need some match winners now. We've got the solid, dependable players. We've got the defence sorted. We just need that bit of flair, that bit of, like you say, Andy, that bit of excitement, to get us off our seats. When it's 0-0 on a windy Tuesday night at Northampton, just to curl one in top corner, that kind of player. That's what we need. So we will see. It's exciting though, and I like that we've got so much business done early. It makes a change. That makes a big difference. Get the squad gelling together for a full pre-season. And let's talk about pre-season, guys. We've got Emily coming up, the old stalwart fixture in pre-season, which is brilliant. We've got the trip to Austria. Andy, you're going to be going, mate, aren't you? Do we know who we're playing yet? I don't think we do we?
Nothing. They've put a story out to say there's going to be 2 games, probably the Tuesday and the Saturday, but we don't know when or where. The team are going to be based in Cossen, which is about an hour away from where most town fans are staying in a place called Virgil, which was like the base last year. So we'll go wherever there's going to be some sort of social event. Where that happens, we don't know, but hopefully there's going to be a social event. And honestly, it's a brilliant week. So absolutely, if anybody is thinking about going, there's Ockering over in Orarin, get yourself there. Honestly, it's a brilliant trip. It's a lovely part of the world. And I can't wait. It's 3 weeks today. We'll be there, probably in the City Bar of Wurgle, with 1 or 2 other town fans making a bit of noise like we were last time. So can't wait. But yeah, we'll do some stuff back from the training camp. We might get to go and watch training. We don't know. So whatever we can do, we'll send back and put on the socials as befits social media moguls that we are.
Mate, if I could go myself, I would. I'm very jealous. It'll be great. Forget the football. It'll be just good from a social point of view.
It's a great social do. It really is. It's like a week-long stag do. It's hard work, but you get through.
It won't fit in, will he, unless they're serving vegan beer anyway. So
I'm sure he'll find some levels somewhere.
Drinking water and eating lettuce leaves for a week.
That'll be it. Well, he needs to lose some weight, doesn't he, apparently? Yeah, as long as he eats at the right time.
And then Burnley at home, Gaz, decent fixture, decent test just to see what we're about. That should be a good one, shouldn't it, to round it off? Yeah,
should be. Hopefully they'll get a decent crowd down there for that. Burnley will probably bring a few, even though it's only a friendly, it's not far away. And they're well supported, so I think they'll bring a few with them. So I think they just need to try and make sure they get this, try and knit this team together, don't they? Not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. This is Grant's opportunity to do that, to get them together and try and blend them, because there's a lot of new faces and there's a lot of, we talked about the baggage that came with being relegated from the Championship. There's a few now that have got the baggage from the tail end of last season. Well, let's be honest, it was pretty horrid. So fingers crossed Grant can, they've all been away and had a summer and cleared their heads, and they come back and they're on the game, because we're going to have to be. League One is going to be as tough as ever.
We always say that, don't we? It's going to be the toughest it's been for how long? And then halfway through the season, we're like, oh, it's a poor league this time. Because that's it. Like, it's old names, isn't it? Like your Lutons and your Plymouths. But I guess I've not included that for tonight to discuss what we think about the other teams, because I guess it's still early in it. We don't really know how they're going to shape up. It's quite difficult to predict. I think it's going to be, you've obviously not got your Birminghams and your Wrexhams with the wages and whatnot, but I do think it'll be quite even. I think there'll be maybe 6 to 8 teams up there. It'll be 2 leagues within a league, I think, again. Hopefully Bradford will be at the bottom of the lower league. we'll see. Season ticket prices. The sales I've just included because it's been a while, and obviously nobody's really come out with any figures sold, but by all accounts, people that have spoke to people at the ticket office have said we sold more than we thought we would, which I don't know what that means. To me, that probably means about 8 to 10,000, but you kind of look on the map, there's a lot of empty seats there. Do you think it's gone how they thought? Do you think that they'd be happy with this? Or I guess they're banking on, if we do well, people paying on the day. And I guess maybe, they did have issues with people buying season tickets and then not attending games. So I guess maybe for them, this probably works out better. But again, a lot of those tickets might be the 3 under 14s. So I don't know. I guess we won't know for a while, but is it what you thought it would be, guys? I thought maybe 7,000. It sounds like we're probably slightly better than that, doesn't it? So
yeah, I mean, even when it was shite, they were getting 6,000 and 7,000 season tickets when it was I mean, I know this isn't great, but the Chris Powell era. So I mean, I thought somewhere in the 8,000 to 10,000 region anyway, which it sounds like it's going to be where it'll be. I think Kev's cute enough. There'll be loads and loads of game offers. There'll be loads of, come down, buy one, get one half price. There'll be kids for £1. There'll be all sorts what they try and get them in the building, because all the money is invested in H-Town and all the stuff around it generates jack shit if there's nobody in it. So he's going to have to try and generate more foot traffic. But yeah, I always thought there'd be sort of 8,000 to 10,000 anyway, because I think there's 8,000 to 10,000 of us mad bastards that have got no else.
What else to do on a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, nothing better. So,
I wonder whether they'll try and push half season tickets if we're doing really well. If we're flying, fingers crossed. I think there'll be a big push on half season tickets when that comes around. Or they might work out some sort of scheme where you don't have to wait till the end of the when they offer half season tickets. They might do something there. But there weren't many offers last year, if I remember rightly. There weren't many, come along for a fiver type of games. So I think you're right, Gaz. I think there will be some element of trying to get some bums on seats, buying some stuff. That 1908 club does look really, really smart. But like you say, if there's no bugger in it, then it's just a nice place to put your pint and have a nice rest. So, he's got to get footfall. Otherwise, it becomes even more difficult for him to, like the Bradley Peel's stadium purchase, it's not going through for a long, long time. A long, long time. I think we're talking at least another year, probably a couple of years until Giants get sorted out. So I think that's a long way off. So he's going to have to take a lot of risks with his investment in the stadium, with no guarantee of getting his money back if it doesn't work out. So he's going to need to be able to get as much out of the place as he possibly can, because he needs to offset that somehow.
And he's dealing with a wily old bugger in Ken Davey, isn't he?
Yeah.
I was going to say something really horrible about Ken Davey now, but I'm not going to do. But the reality is, Andy, he has no choice. I mean, that's how Kev makes his return, is by getting his hands on the stadium and getting the club back into the Premier League. So he has to make it happen, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us, I think Mr. Nagel and co probably thought they'd have had it wrapped up by now, the stadium. And I think a lot of us that knew what Ken Davies about probably knew better. It's never simple, and there's only going to be one person that does well on that deal. So we'll see how it develops. But I think you're right. I think it's going to be a while, which is disappointing. But again, Ken Davies looking after the Giants' interests and wanting them to play in Huddersfield. So I suppose, from his point, he's got to look after his interests.
Of course,
he can't just roll over. That's business, isn't it? That's business. So I think, I love what he's doing with the hospitality suites. And I think if you price it right, I think you will fill those, because companies have, some of these companies have money to burn. They'll do it on expenses, as away days and whatnot. So I think they'll be fine with that. I think it's just general footfall. I'm surprised that they haven't filled more of that north stand lower with the reduced prices. I'm not a fan of it. You're exposed to the elements and whatnot, but with the pricing structure, I think there's one solitary bloke sat on his own at one point in the middle of a sea of of blue seats. I did wonder if that was one of you that was like, oh fuck this, I'm just gonna sit on my own. Rather than having to talk to anybody. It's just gas on his own. But
in fairness, I did think about it. It meant I didn't have to listen to fucking Ian Kilroy's commentary all the way through the game. I told you that's what he did.
But like you said, I think, look, if it's a good product, people come. They'll pay it if we're doing well. If we're up there, if we're in, first to third place, playing great football, scoring goals, you will get people coming through the door. If we're absolutely awful, lower half of the table, playing dire football, grinding out 0-0s, and no one's going to come and watch, especially with it being on the telly. So we'll see. We'll see how it develops. I think, guys, we've done an hour and a half. We've got through a lot there. Well done to everyone that stuck with it.
Yeah. All battered.
Is there anything else, guys, you think we should talk about before we wrap it up for this episode? We'll be ramping things up now as we sort of head into pre-season and we get hopefully some more signings through the door. But I think that's a good start, and we've kind of gone through everything up to date, haven't we? So, guys, Gaz, Andy, thank you so much. Thanks to Ian Kilroy, wherever he's gone. He's sat eating his curry.
Massive curry. He's been
he don't do that on
gone 40 minutes.
He don't bugger off at eating his curry.
No, he don't abandon it halfway through, does he?
Right, I know.
Walk off.
Absolutely. Professional as ever. But thank you, guys, as always. It's been a while since we've been on, but again, you're viewing in really good numbers, so it's brilliant, and such good engagement as well, because that's what it's about. It's about you guys and what questions you have. And I've just seen this, Andrew Brook, by the way. What about Andy Carroll? I didn't even know he was still playing, in all honesty. I just think
like in the 4th division in France or something, isn't it? Playing for like 50 quid a week or something.
I mean, much like Rodriguez at Wrexham, I guess you do need these sort of characters around. I don't know. I mean, if Grant thinks he could do a job, yeah, but I think we do need someone with some nous up there, someone who ain't afraid to put an elbow in, get himself stuck in where it hurts. Is going to be that player? I'm not too sure about that, but I think that's what we're short of. We're short of a bit of a nasty bastard, to be quite honest with you. So
Taylor's a nasty bastard. He's just not very sly with it, and he's not very big, is he? So,
well, he's just I suppose. Well, we need two nasty. We need two nasty bastards.
Another one. A big nasty bastard.
Streetwise, yeah,
a little nasty bastard. We've got one of them already.
But yeah, thank you so much, guys, for all your engagement. As I say, give us a subscribe and a like. It really helps the channel. And yeah, if you've got any ideas for new stuff we can do this season, we're always thinking about what we can do. So just drop them in the comments, DM us on X, and we'll see what we can do. If you want to come on the show, like we said last time, again, just DM us on X, and we'll
buy a t-shirt. Buy a t-shirt, you get automatic entry onto one go. Buy a t-shirt.
I'm hoping Dean Ball's going to be sending us all a load of free stuff after
I'm hoping so, yeah.
I've got one of them as well.
You got one of them as well?
That's how far into it I am. Northern football.
Northern football.
Ooh, Northern football.
Right. Stephen Shepherd, great show, lads. See you at Emley. Yes, indeed, mate. Let's get stuck into pre-season and get ready for that first game. See you all soon, guys. Up the town.
Up the town.
Hey.